General Kevin Hartley had not slept in 36 hours. He stood in the main control room of NORAD, buried deep inside Shine Mountain, and stared at the monitors before him. The screens showed something that made no sense. At first, the scientists had thought it was an error, a glitch in the system, something wrong with the instruments. But the readings kept coming back the same. There was an object in space above Earth. It was massive. The size of it was hard to understand. It was larger than any spacecraft humanity had ever built. It was larger than any structure that humans had ever created. The object hung in the darkness of space, silent and still, like a predator watching its prey. It had been there for 12 hours now, and in those 12 hours, the world had changed forever. Kevin looked at the face of Commander Lisa Abbott, who stood next to him. Lisa was one of the best officers he had ever known. She had served in the military for 23 years. She was smart, strong, and she did not break under pressure. But right now, her face was the color of old paper. Her hand shook slightly as she held the tablet. "They started sending the signal 20 minutes ago," Lisa said. Her voice was calm, but Kevin could hear the fear underneath it. "We have translated it. The message is the same in every language. English, Spanish, Mandarin, Russian, Hindi, French. All the major languages of Earth. They put the translation into all of them at once. What do they want?" Kevin asked. He already knew the answer, but he needed to hear it spoken out loud. Lisa took a long breath. "They call themselves the Vredok Dominion. They say they come from beyond our solar system. They have traveled across space for thousands of years. They have visited many worlds. They have conquered many civilizations." Lisa paused. She did not want to say the next part. "They are giving us an ultimatum. We have 3 days. In 3 days, all humans must surrender completely. We must give up all weapons. We must accept them as our rulers. We must agree to obey them completely. If we do not do this, they will destroy all human life on Earth." Kevin felt something hard and cold move into his chest. He walked to the main screen and stared at the object floating above them. Somewhere inside that massive ship, there were aliens. There were beings that had traveled through space, that had conquered other worlds, that now looked at Earth as just another world to take. "How many civilizations have they conquered?" Kevin asked. Lisa looked at her tablet. "According to the data they sent us, they have conquered over 40 star systems. Over 40 worlds. Some of those worlds had more advanced technology than we do. Some of them had tried to fight back. All of them failed. The data files came with images of dead worlds. Kevin saw planet after planet, each one barren and empty. Some showed the ruins of great cities. Some showed evidence of explosions, of weapons being used. All of them showed that something had destroyed the civilizations that once lived there. The Vredok had sent these images to Earth as a message. They were showing humanity what would happen if humanity tried to fight. Kevin looked around the control room. There were officers and soldiers watching the monitors. They stared at the screens in silence. Some had tears on their faces. Some looked angry. All of them understood what was happening. The Earth was under attack. Not with weapons, not yet, but with a threat. The threat was real. The power behind the threat was real. A general from the United Kingdom appeared on the video screen. His name was General Edmund Cross. He looked sick. "Kevin, we are receiving the same signal. The UK Armed Forces are on standby. What are we doing? Do we surrender? Do we fight? What are the orders?" Kevin did not answer right away. He thought about his daughter, Sarah. She was 20 years old. She was in college, studying biology. She wanted to help people. She wanted to make the world better. In 3 days, she might be dead. Everyone he loved might be dead. Everyone he had ever met might be dead, but Kevin Hartley had not spent 30 years in the military to give up without a fight. He had not trained thousands of soldiers to accept defeat. He had not learned to be a leader so that he could surrender to an alien power. "We do not surrender," Kevin said. His voice was quiet but firm. "Tell your forces to prepare for war." General Cross looked shocked. "Kevin, they said they would destroy the entire planet. We cannot fight an enemy like this. We do not have the technology." "Then we will learn," Kevin said. "The Vrethik have given us 3 days. In those 3 days, we will prepare. We will ready our military. We will prepare our people. We will coordinate with every nation on Earth. We will show these aliens what humans are capable of." Kevin turned to Lisa. "I want every satellite we have watching that ship. I want every radar system tracking it. I want every scientist we have working to understand it. If they are going to come to our world and demand our surrender, they are going to learn what a mistake that was." Lisa nodded. She understood. Kevin was not going to lead humanity to surrender. He was going to fight. It was a choice that might get them all killed, but it was a choice that meant humanity would at least try to survive. In the next hours, messages went out from NORAD to military bases around the world. The United States military mobilized. Then other nations followed. Within hours, every military force on Earth was being put on alert. Every fighter jet was being fueled. Every missile was being checked. Every soldier was being called to battle stations. At the United Nations, emergency meetings were called. Some countries wanted to surrender. Some wanted to fight. Some did not know what to do. But as the hours passed, something changed. People watched the news. They saw the massive ship above Earth. They understood that this was real. This was not a movie or a dream. Aliens had come to Earth, and they wanted humans to surrender or die. Some people panicked. They fled to the countryside. They tried to hide. But others grew angry. How dare these aliens come to Earth and demand surrender? How dare they threaten humans? How dare they think that humans would just give up? Kevin Hartley watched the news feeds showing people around the world responding to the Vrethik's demands. He saw people standing together. He saw military forces organizing. He saw scientists working on new weapons. He saw the human spirit rising up to meet the challenge. "We will not surrender," Kevin said to Lisa. "Whatever happens in the next 3 days, whatever happens in the war to come, humans will not surrender. They will fight. They might die, but they will not surrender." Lisa looked at the massive ship on the screen above them. She felt the same way Kevin did. Fear mixed with determination. The Vrethik thought they could come to Earth and take it. They thought humans were weak. They thought humans would give up, but they had made a mistake. They had not understood humanity. And in the 3 days they had given, humans would prepare to show the Vrethik exactly what that mistake would cost them. The 3 days passed faster than anyone expected. Across Earth, military forces prepared for battle. Fighter jets were armed with every weapon that humans had ever created. Missiles were loaded onto ships and submarines. Tanks were moved into position. Soldiers were given orders to be ready. But in their hearts, everyone knew the truth. The weapons of Earth might not be enough. On the morning of the 4th day, the Vrethik made their move. Their massive ship moved for the first time since it had arrived. It did not descend toward Earth. Instead, a smaller ship broke away from the main vessel. The smaller ship was still enormous, but it was nothing like the size of the mothership above. This smaller vessel began to fall through Earth's atmosphere, heading toward New York City. Kevin Hartley watched from NORAD as the ship descended. He had military forces ready in New York. Fighter jets were already in the sky, waiting. But he did not give the order to attack yet. He wanted to see what the Vrethik would do. He wanted to understand what they were capable of. the alien ship stopped above New York City at a height of 3,000 meters. It hung there, silent and still. Then something happened. A beam of pure energy shot down from the ship toward the ground. It was not a thin beam like a laser. It was a pulse of energy that spread out like a wave. It covered an area the size of 20 blocks. What Kevin saw on the monitors made his stomach turn. Where the energy pulse hit, everything was destroyed. Buildings crumbled. They did not burn or explode. They simply fell apart, as if every single piece of them had been hit with enormous force at the same time. Trees snapped like they were made of glass. Cars were crushed flat. The pulse of energy lasted only 5 seconds, but when it ended, 50,000 people were dead. The world went silent. News channels stopped broadcasting. People in every city, in every country, stopped what they were doing. 50,000 people had died in 5 seconds. The Vrithek had just shown humanity what would happen if they did not surrender. Kevin was furious. He had prepared for military conflict, but this was different. This was a display of raw power designed to break human will. It was meant to show that resistance was impossible. It was meant to make humans accept defeat. But Kevin Hartley did not break. Instead, he made a decision. "Launch every fighter we have," he ordered. "Attack that ship." Fighter jets moved quickly. Pilots who had trained for years but never faced real combat now flew toward an alien spacecraft. The jets opened fire with missiles and bullets. The weapons flew through the air toward the Vrethek ship. Then something strange happened. The missiles did not hit their target. They exploded near the ship, but the explosions did not damage it. The ship had some kind of shield. Energy flashed around it, and every human weapon bounced off harmlessly. Kevin watched as the Vrethek ship turned its weapon toward the fighter jets. But the jets were fast. They moved quickly, and the energy pulse missed them. The pilots had training and instinct. They did not fly straight. They did not make easy targets. Some jets were hit and fell from the sky, but others kept flying. One thing became clear in those terrible minutes. The Vrethek technology was advanced, but it had weaknesses. The energy weapons took time to fire. They needed a moment to build up power. The pilots could see this happening and could get away before the weapon discharged. In Los Angeles, a young engineer named Derek Chun was watching the battle on his computer screen. Derek was smart. He understood physics and engineering. He worked at a technology company developing new systems. As he watched the battle, an idea came to him. He saw the pattern of the Vrethek's weapon. He saw the frequency of the energy that it used. Derek looked at his colleagues. "I think I can stop that weapon," he said. "If I can disrupt the energy frequency, I can make the shield fail. I can create an EMP device that might work." His manager looked at him. "How fast can you build it?" 2 hours, Derek said. "Maybe less." Derek went to work. His hands moved quickly, assembling components, building the device. His team helped him. They did not stop for food or water. They worked with the focus and drive that humans show when the survival of their species is at stake. In 90 minutes, Derek had built an electromagnetic pulse device. Military helicopters came and picked up the device. They carried it to New York, where the battle was still happening. The Vrethek ship had destroyed another building, but it was running out of places to aim. The city was being evacuated. The population was moving away. The helicopter released the EMP device over the Vrethek ship. The device exploded, sending out an electromagnetic pulse. The blast hit the alien spacecraft, and something happened. The shield flickered. It did not disappear, but it weakened. Fighter jets saw the opening. They fired missiles directly at the ship. The missiles hit, and this time they did damage. The Vrethek ship was hit multiple times. It lurched in the air, and smoke began to pour from its hull. the alien ship tried to escape. It fired its weapon one more time, but the pilot saw it coming and got away. The ship climbed higher and higher into the atmosphere. It headed back toward the main vessel orbiting above Earth. The battle was over. The Vrethek had come expecting easy victory. They had come expecting humans to surrender. Instead, they have faced a species that would not give up. They had faced humans who would fight, who would adapt, who would find ways to turn technology against technology dot around the world. People watched what had happened. A pilot named Amanda Rodriguez had shot down an alien fighter with her jet. She had done something that 3 days earlier would have seemed impossible. She had fought an alien and won. The news of her victory spread across the world. It showed that humans could fight. It showed that humans could win in the days that followed. More and more people understood something. They had been given an ultimatum, and they had refused it. They had faced the power of an advanced alien civilization, and they had not surrendered. They had adapted, learned, and fought back. The Vrethek had made a critical mistake. They had not understood human nature. They did not understand that humans would fight even when the odds were against them. They did not understand that humans would sacrifice themselves for others. They did not understand that humans had a drive to survive, that no amount of superior technology could overcome. The war had truly begun. The Vrethek had expected to take over Earth in days. They had not expected that humanity would put up a real fight. But humans had never been a species that accepted defeat easily. From the moment humans understood that the Vrethek would be opposed, they moved forward with determination. They would learn. They would adapt. They would fight. And they would never surrender. 2 months had passed since the first battle. The war between humans and the Vrethek had grown into something massive and all-consuming. The Vrethek sent down more ships. They tried to establish control of key regions on Earth. They tried to take cities and territory. But every time they tried, they found humans waiting to fight them. General Kevin Hartley had done something that had never been done before. He had united the militaries of the entire world under one command structure. Countries that had been enemies for decades were now fighting together against the Vrethek. Russia and the United States fought side by side. China and Japan worked together. India and Pakistan coordinated their military operations. The old divisions between nations had disappeared when the survival of the human species was at stake. Military bases around the world became centers of coordination and learning. Scientists, engineers, and soldiers shared information constantly. When one country found a weakness in the Vrethek's weapons, they told every other country immediately. When a new tactic worked against an alien ship, the information spread to every military force on Earth. Kevin stood in a command center in Europe now, watching battles happen in real time on multiple screens. A battle was taking place over the Atlantic Ocean. Vrethek ships were trying to establish control of the ocean, but human naval forces were fighting back. Aircraft carriers, submarines, and destroyers worked together with perfect coordination. They had learned to communicate with alien technology. They had learned to predict alien movements. They had learned to anticipate attacks. A young pilot named James Porter was leading the aerial defense. He had flown more combat missions than any other pilot in the world. He had shot down 5 alien fighters and damaged 3 alien transport ships. He was not superhuman. He was just a person like anyone else. But he had learned from every mission. He had studied how the aliens fought. He had learned their weaknesses. James saw an alien fighter approaching on his radar. He knew exactly what it would do. He knew that it would try to climb higher and circle around. He knew that the alien pilot was good, but humans had been flying and fighting in the air for 100 years. Humans had learned air combat tactics. The alien had learned to fly, but humans had learned to fight. James moved his jet into position. The alien fighter fired its weapon, but James had already moved. He fired his missiles. One hit the alien ship directly. The alien fighter exploded and fell from the sky. James moved quickly to his next target. Around the world, similar battles were happening every day. On the ground, military forces fought in cities and across open terrain. In the oceans, naval battles lasted for hours. In the air, hundreds of dogfights happened simultaneously. Humans were dying. Hundreds of thousands of humans had already been killed. But the Vrethik were also dying. Their numbers were limited. Every ship they lost was a ship they could not replace while fighting so far from home. In underground cities and bunker systems, scientists worked without rest. A physicist named Michael Stone was trying to understand Vrethik technology. He had studied the wreckage of a destroyed alien ship. He looked at how their weapons worked, how their computers worked, how their power systems worked. He discovered something remarkable. The technology, while advanced, was based on the same laws of physics that governed human science. This meant that humans could eventually build the same technology. Michael brought his findings to Kevin Hartley. "We can reverse engineer this," Michael said. "It will take time, but we can learn to build weapons that match theirs." Kevin felt hope for the first time in weeks. "How long?" 3 months, Michael said. "Maybe less if we move fast and get the best minds working on it." Kevin made the order immediately. The best scientists and engineers in every country were assigned to work on the project. They worked in shifts, never stopping. They made models and prototypes. They tested and failed and tested again. But they kept moving forward. In cities around the world, people had learned to live with war. Evacuation zones were established around any place where the Vrethik might try to land. Underground shelters were built. Supply lines were organized. People who were not soldiers volunteered to help in any way they could. Doctors and nurses treated the endless stream of wounded. Construction workers built defensive structures. Farmers grew food for the military. Teachers educated the children about the enemy, so they would understand what was happening. Something remarkable had happened to human society. All the conflicts that had divided nations and people had become unimportant. The fight against the Vrethik was everything. Humans were not focused on money or power or territory anymore. They were focused on survival. They were focused on defeating the alien invaders. A woman named Nicole Harrison was a doctor in London. She had been working for 3 weeks straight without real sleep. She treated Vrethik wounds, trying to understand their biology. She also treated human soldiers, working to save their lives. She saw the worst of war every single day. She saw people die. But she also saw the strength of human spirit. She saw soldiers who were injured but still wanted to fight. She saw people who had lost everything but still wanted to help others. Young children had been evacuated to safe zones far from the fighting. In these safe zones, they learned about the world above, the war that was happening. Some children drew pictures of victory. Some wrote letters to soldiers. Some worked to help in the kitchens or in supply lines. They understood, at some level, that the adults were fighting for their future. In New York City, a scientist named Paul Martin worked on a new communication system that could work even if the Vrethik tried to jam signals. It was difficult work, but Paul understood the importance. If humans could not communicate, they could not coordinate. If they could not coordinate, they could not fight effectively. So Paul worked harder than he had ever worked in his life. The months passed, and the war continued. The Vrethik tried to break human resistance by destroying cities and killing civilians. They thought fear would force humans to surrender. They did not understand that fear sometimes made humans fight harder, not surrender more easily. They did not understand that when a species fought for the survival of its own kind, there was almost no limit to what it would endure. Kevin Hartley was tired. He had not had a real rest in weeks. But he was also determined. He saw reports coming in from across the globe. Humans were learning faster than anyone had expected. Humans were adapting faster. Humans were becoming better fighters every single day. The Vrethek had come to Earth expecting to take over quickly and easily. They had not counted on human resilience. They had not counted on human innovation. They had not counted on the fact that humans, when they decided to fight, would find a way to win, no matter what the cost. The war was far from over. Many more would die before it ended. But something had become clear. Humans would not surrender. They would fight. They would adapt. They would learn. And they would find a way to drive the Vrethek from their world. The Vrethek sent a message to General Kevin Hartley through official communication channels. It was a proposal for peace. The Vrethek would withdraw from Earth and acknowledge humans as an independent species. They would cease all military operations. In exchange, humans would agree not to pursue the Vrethek forces as they left the solar system. It was an offer made not from a position of strength, but from desperation. Kevin called an emergency meeting at the United Nations. Military leaders and political representatives from every nation gathered together. Some argued that they should accept the Vrethek offer. The war had cost them 5 million lives. Cities had been destroyed. The planet had been scarred by conflict. Accepting peace seemed like a reasonable choice, but Commander Lisa Abbott stood and offered a different perspective. If we accept this offer, we send a message to the galaxy. We send a message that we are weak, that we only fought because we had no choice, that we will accept peace on the Vrethek's terms. But if we continue the fight and force them to leave Earth completely, we send a different message. We send a message that humans cannot be conquered. We send a message that humans are a force to be respected. The debate went on for hours. Some leaders wanted peace at any cost. Others wanted to pursue the Vrethek and eliminate them completely. But finally, a decision was made. Humanity would not accept the Vrethek's terms. Humans would continue the war. They would force the Vrethek to leave Earth not because of an agreement, but because humans had defeated them in combat. The Vrethek received this message and seemed surprised that humanity would choose to continue fighting. But they were also realistic. They had lost. Their command structure on Earth was destroyed. Their soldiers were being killed at a rate faster than they could defend. Every day, more humans were trained to use the new energy weapons. Every day, more ships were destroyed. Every day, the Vrethek position became worse. The final battle came 3 weeks later. The Vrethek assembled their remaining forces for one last attempt to break human resistance. They brought everything they had left. Multiple ships descended from the main vessel. Thousands of soldiers prepared for combat. This would be the largest battle of the entire war. Kevin Hartley coordinated the human response. Every military force on Earth was mobilized. Fighter jets were launched from bases around the world. Naval forces moved into position. Soldiers prepared defensive positions. But humans had something that the Vrethek did not have anymore. Humans had hope. Humans believed they could win. Humans had seen victory before and knew that it was possible. The battle raged across multiple continents simultaneously. In Europe, aerial dogfights filled the sky for hours. Hundreds of aircraft fought against dozens of alien ships. The Vrethek technology was still advanced, but humans had learned to compensate. They used teamwork and strategy. They did not rely only on technology. They relied on the human ability to think, to adapt, and to work together. A pilot named Amanda Rodriguez led a squadron of fighter jets against a massive Vrethek transport ship. The transport was trying to reinforce a ground position. Amanda knew that if the transport landed, thousands of alien soldiers would deploy. She had to stop it. She guided her squadron into attack formation. They fired missiles from multiple angles. The transport ship's shields failed under the coordinated attack. The ship crashed to the ground, and exploded. On the ground, soldiers fought Vrethek forces street by street and building by building. A soldier named David Hall had fought in 6 major battles. He had been wounded 3 times, but kept fighting. He had killed dozens of Vrethek soldiers. He did not fight because he hated the aliens. He fought because they were invading his world, threatening his people, trying to take everything from humanity. In the ocean, naval forces engaged in the largest sea battle of the war. Ships fired at each other. Submarines launched missiles. Aircraft attacked from above. The Vrethek lost 5 major ships in the battle. Humans lost 3 ships and multiple smaller vessels. The Vrethek were in full retreat. As the day went on, it became clear that the Vrethek were losing. They could not maintain their positions. They could not replace their losses. They could not defeat an enemy that refused to surrender and kept fighting no matter what the cost. By the end of the day, the remaining Vrethek forces were in full retreat to their main vessel in orbit. They had suffered complete military defeat. They had come to Earth expecting easy victory and found instead a species that would fight to the last person to defend their world. The Vrethek began an emergency evacuation. They loaded the remaining soldiers onto their ships. They prepared to leave Earth's orbit. For the first time in the war, there was no doubt. Humans had won. Humans had defeated the Vrethek Dominion. As the last alien ship left Earth's atmosphere and began moving away from the solar system, celebrations erupted across the planet. People came out of shelters and safe zones. They danced in the streets. They cried with relief. They embraced each other. Humans had survived. Humans had defeated an advanced alien civilization. Kevin Hartley stood in the command center with Lisa Abbott. They watched the monitors showing the Vrethek ships leaving the solar system. Tears came to Kevin's eyes. So many had died. So much had been lost. But humanity had survived. Humanity had proven that a species with determination and courage could overcome almost any challenge. What happens now? Lisa asked him. Kevin thought about the question carefully. Now we rebuild. We help the wounded. We recover the dead and honor them. We repair our planet. But we also do something else. We tell the galaxy what happened here. We send messages to the worlds that the Vrethek conquered. We tell them that the Vrethek can be defeated. We tell them that another way is possible. We form alliances with those who want to be free. Over the following days, humans sent out radio signals across space. The message was simple and clear. It said that Earth had fought the Vrethek and won. It said that any world that wanted to be free could find allies in humans. It said that the age of the Vrethek was ending. In worlds around the Vrethek Empire, beings of different species heard this message. Some were slaves forced to work for the Vrethek. Some were civilizations that had surrendered because they thought resistance was impossible. Some were species that had never even heard of rebellion. But all of them heard the same message. Humans had fought and won. Slowly, first one world, then another. Then dozens of worlds began to rebel against Vrethek rule. The Vrethek Empire, which had seemed unbeatable, began to crumble. The domino effect had started, and it was humanity that had knocked over the first domino. Kevin Hartley and Lisa Abbott looked at Earth below them. The planet was scarred by war, but it was still beautiful. It was still home to 8 billion humans. And now, those humans were not just survivors. They were heroes. They were the species that had stood against overwhelming odds and refused to surrender. The message that spread through the galaxy was simple but powerful. It said that humans never surrender. It said that when humans fought for what they believed in, they could achieve the impossible. It said that hope and determination were forces that no technology could overcome. Humanity had passed its test. The galaxy would never be the same. 3 months later, the first human-built weapon that matched Vrethek technology was ready. The weapon was not as perfect as the alien technology, but it worked. It worked well enough to damage alien ships. It worked well enough to change the balance of power in the war. Michael Stone watched as the weapon was tested in a secure facility. The energy weapon discharged, and the target it was aimed at was completely destroyed. Michael felt tears come to his eyes. Humans had done the impossible. In just 3 months, they had studied alien technology and learned to reproduce it. That was the speed of human innovation when survival was at stake. The weapon was quickly manufactured. Multiple copies were made and distributed to military forces around the world. But Michael knew that weapons alone would not win the war. Humans needed to use strategy. They needed to coordinate. They needed to catch the Vrithik off guard. Admiral Rachel Grant was put in charge of the largest military operation that humans had ever attempted. She was a career naval officer who understood strategy and coordination. She had studied everything humans knew about the Vrethek. She had watched every battle. She had seen their tactics. And she had found a weakness. The Vrethek had 3 major installations on Earth. These installations were command centers that coordinated all Vrethek operations on the planet. If humans could destroy all 3 simultaneously, it would disrupt everything the Vrethek were doing. But the installations were heavily defended. Each one was protected by multiple ships and thousands of soldiers. Rachel put together a plan that seemed crazy at first. She would strike all 3 installations at the same time. She would use every military resource that humans had. She would send fighter jets from all over the world to attack the 3 locations. The operation would be risky. Humans would die. But if it worked, the Vrethek would lose control of Earth. Kevin Hartley reviewed Rachel's plan carefully. Every aspect was studied and analyzed. Every possible problem was considered. The military commanders from every nation were brought in to understand the plan and commit their forces to it. It took a week of planning, but finally, all the pieces were in place. The night before the operation, soldiers and pilots throughout the world prepared their weapons and got ready for battle. Some soldiers wrote letters to their families. Some prayed. Some just tried to sleep, knowing that the next day might be their last. But all of them were ready. All of them understood what was at stake. The operation began at dawn. Fighter jets took off from bases around the world. Thousands of them moved toward the 3 Vrethek installations. The operation was coordinated perfectly. Messages were sent to make sure that all 3 attacks would start at exactly the same time. When one clock showed the exact moment, the attack began everywhere at once. The first installation was in Russia. Hundreds of fighter jets attacked it from above, while soldiers moved in from the ground. The Vrethek fought back with everything they had. Energy weapons filled the sky. Fighter jets were hit and fell to the ground. Soldiers died. But the human forces kept pushing forward. The weapons that Michael Stone had developed worked perfectly. The Vrethek shields failed when hit by the human energy weapons. Thousands of Vrethek soldiers died in the first few minutes of the battle. Their command center was hit directly. The installation was destroyed. Thousands of human soldiers died as well, but they had accomplished their goal. The first installation fell at the same moment. The second installation in Mexico was being attacked. Naval forces attacked from the sea, while air forces attacked from above. The Vrethek had not expected coordinated attacks from multiple directions at the same time. Their defenses fell apart. Ships were destroyed. The installation was damaged so badly that it could no longer function. Thousands died in the battle, but the second installation fell. The third installation, in Indonesia, faced similar attacks. Fighter jets came from every direction. Ships moved in from the ocean. The Vrethek tried to fight back, but they were overwhelmed. Their technology, while advanced, could not defend against coordinated attacks from multiple sources. The installation was completely destroyed in less than 2 hours. All three major Vrethak command centers on Earth were destroyed or disabled. The Vrethak response was immediate and furious. Ships descended from the main vessel above Earth. They tried to mount counterattacks, but humans were ready for them. The fighting raged across the planet for hours. By the end of the day, humans had taken severe losses. 15,000 soldiers were dead. 30,000 were wounded. Hundreds of aircraft had been destroyed. But the Vrethak had taken even worse losses. Over 50,000 alien soldiers had been killed. Multiple ships had been destroyed. The Vrethak command structure on Earth was completely broken. Back on the main Vrethak ship orbiting Earth, the alien commanders met to discuss what had happened. They had come to Earth expecting an easy victory. They had expected the humans to surrender within weeks. Instead, they had faced 4 months of constant warfare. They had lost thousands of soldiers and multiple ships. They had not been able to establish control of any part of the planet. Even more concerning to the Phenom Kanhad Vrethak commanders was the speed at which the humans were improving. The humans had started the war with primitive weapons. Now they had weapons that could damage alien technology. The humans had started the war uncoordinated, with separate nations fighting separately. Now they had unified military forces coordinated from a central command. The humans showed a capacity to learn and adapt that the Vrethak had never encountered before. The oldest Vrethak commander, a being named Vex that had lived for over 300 years, spoke first. "We have made an error," he said. "We underestimated this species. We believed that advanced technology would be enough to guarantee victory. We believed that humans would surrender when faced with overwhelming force. We were wrong on both counts." Another commander disagreed. "We can still win. We have more ships coming. We have reinforcements on the way. We can overwhelm them with numbers." But Vex shook his head. "By the time those reinforcements arrive, the humans will have built more of their weapons. They will have coordinated even better. They will have found more of our weaknesses. Every day we wait, they become stronger. Every day we wait, their resolve becomes harder." It was a truth that the Vrethak did not want to accept. They had conquered 40 star systems. They had defeated civilizations that had far more advanced technology than Earth, but they had never faced a civilization like humanity. They had never faced a species that fought with such determination, that adapted so quickly, that refused to accept defeat. The Vrethak commanders realized something terrible. They were losing the war. For the first time in 4,000 years, the Vrethak faced the possibility of defeat. The humans, a species that had been considered primitive and weak, were fighting them to a standstill. The humans were learning, adapting, and becoming stronger with each passing day. Kevin Hartley received reports of the successful operation. He saw that the first phase of the counteroffensive had worked. But he knew that this was just the beginning. The Vrethak still had a massive ship in orbit. They still had resources. They would fight back. But humans had proven that they could win. Humans had shown that they could not be defeated by superior technology alone.